Um, so what I have planned for today is first a short excursion in the Tipitaka about the idea of karma, but I will then quickly move to Thailand, and I will address some questions such as to what degree is a life determined by past karma, or what circumstances cause a Theravada Buddhist to think of karma during his lifetime. They're not all the time thinking, oh, this is karma, or I'm not doing anything because it's all predestined. That's nonsense. So I'm showing you some scenes from daily life, which I lived once more than a year in a village, and I experienced some moments where people spontaneously said, that's my past karma. So I will also be talking about some the consequences of the belief of karma in daily life, and then I will end up with the transfer of karma from one person to another. And in that last bit, I will show you a dramatic change in Thai Buddhism from the first time that I transferred karma to modern karma transference. So there might be something in for everyone. Most of it will be known for those who know Buddhism, but some of it might be known. Now, well, first, what the Tipitaka says, the Anguttara Nikaya, Chakanipata, Mahavagga. Queen Malaka is told by the Buddha why some women are beautiful, attractive, pleasing, and possessed of surpassing loveliness, where others are ugly, bad figure, and horrible to look at. He says anger has been called the cause of ugliness. The lack of anger, despite provocation, has been the cause of beauty. Greed is the cause of poverty. Generosity, notably giving alms to monks, he was thinking of himself, I think, is the cause of wealth and high status. Now, I have the Samyutta Nikaya that you find always in the literature. I think it's the next slide. There it is. Yeah. According to the seed that's sown, so the fruit is what you reap therefrom. Doer of good will gather good. Doer of evil, evil reaps. Down is the seed, and thou shalt taste the fruit thereof. In Thai, tam di dai di, tam chua dai chua. So you do good, you'll obtain good. You do bad things will happen. That's a common Thai expression. There is even a lovely series of short stories under that theme that used to be extremely popular in the time that I lived in Thailand. Now, the famous André Barreau, Buddhologist of, I don't think he lives anymore, he says, a living being must put up with punishments and rewards in the present, as well as future punishments and rewards that are the results of acts during his present life. These retaliations and rewards are automatic. And then he says, no God or final judge acts to weigh an individual's good and bad deeds and comes to a proper judgment. Now that's a little bit that I do not agree with. Because the results of action, of conscious action, is automatic, but there is a judge, Yama, the wrathful God, presiding over the narakas, the hells. Theravada countries portray Yama as sending old age, disease, punishments, and other calamities amongst humans as warnings to behave well. At death, they are summoned before Yama. There you see him in the middle. This is a picture made in 1776, I think 76. Yama examines their character and dispatches them to their appropriate rebirth, whether to earth or to one of the heavens or hells. You see his pointed finger. There's another slide from another Thai manuscript following. You see it's much more popular, much more not such an official high-ranking thing. You see ordinary people sitting there, and Yama is judging them, and it is, you see right on the left, there are some people who are pretty scared because they'll be sent to hell. The next one is probably the most impressive one. The next slide. Yeah, no, there's still another one coming. So here you see Yama, and you see that this is a typical Thai picture of people in all from high rank on the top to the very, very commoners on the bottom. And there are people being sent to heaven, the middle ones, and people being sent to hell. You see them already being moved off to the different places where they will be living in hell until their bad karma has expired. And then they will be reborn again with what's left. The last picture is my favorite, actually. The last picture of Kamma, of Yama. It's coming, guys, this. Here, there you see the close-up. There, the judgment, the helpers, the good people on the right, the bad ones being sent off to the left. It's all, these are ancient Thai manuscript paintings, but they show that the Thais do believe in a judgment. In fact, in the Pali Canon, the Buddha is reported stating that those guilty of serious crimes, ill treatment of parents, ascetics, holy persons, or elders, upon death are taken to Yama, and after questions will be sent to a purgatory to suffer until the deed has been expunged. Majjhima Nikaya, 130. Also Anguttara Nikaya, 335, for those who want to read it. Now, I move to what it means, to what degree is a life determined by past karma for the Thais. It sets the basic condition, your basic character. So it's different from what Europeans usually, they look at their child and they say, oh, he's got such and such a character, we will change that. The Thais are much more relaxed, but they know he's just like Uncle so-and-so. He's probably Uncle so-and-so reborn, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so they do not try to change a person's character. I have one example of the opposite. My dear person I called her grandmother had a son who stole, and she said, "This is how you get rid of it. You give him, you beat him with a stick hard on his bottom, and every time you hit him, you say, 'This is for stealing.' Wham! This is what happens when you steal. Wham! And indeed, it's just like training a dog. I mean, it happens in Thailand, and I think it prevents a kleptomania in a child when it has been recognized by a parent. Now, what circumstances cause a Theravada Buddhist to think of his Kamma during his lifetime? That is, when exceptional, unexplainable good or bad luck happens. So you win the major lottery, or you meet with a terrible accident. Now, one day I was a Buddhist monk, and I was sitting in the evening, and we did something that we shouldn't be doing if you were very strict. We were preparing Ovaltine, that is a milky drink. Because in the evening, a young man is terribly hungry. We haven't had food since 12 o'clock in the day, and in the evening, we enjoyed, 3 monks together, a warm Ovaltine. And for that, we had to make a fire. And we had a machine that's called a primus, which you pump up, and there's a high pressure. You lit it, and there's a lovely fire comes in. You can heat up your milk, your milky drink. When we were sitting there, the thing exploded. And it shot a big amount of petrol onto the robes of the eldest monk there. And he was set alight like a candle. Luckily, I had a blanket not far away, because it was my cell, and I wrapped him in and smothered the flames, but he was severely burnt. And when I went with him to the hospital, and when he gained consciousness, he said, "Baas," he saw me, "that was a big one." And I didn't want to bother him, but later I said to him, "What did you mean when there was a big one?" He said, "Well, that must have been my past karma. I must have done a terrible thing. This was a big, bad deed that I expunged by getting this accident happening to me." So that is past karma because of an unexplainable, exceptional happening. So they interpret it that way. Now, since karma, you can do puñña or you can do pāpa. That means you can do good karma or you can do bad karma. And for that, in order to do karma, you have to be doing it consciously. If you accidentally drop a brick from a high place and it kills somebody beneath, you are not guilty of a bad deed because you didn't intend to do it. The fact that it happens to that person is the person's own bad karma. But the fact that you did it means you have somehow a link in the past. That's how they interpret it. In fact, my dear grandmother said to me one day, "It's strange that you are so befriended to our family." But she discussed it with her son, and the son said, "You know, in the 17th century, there were Dutch traders in Thailand. That must be it. There must be a link, because I'm a Dutchman. I was born in Holland, and they knew that, and they had to explain, why is this Dutch person in our family interacting in a way that creates karma, that must have a past karma behind it." And that's how they explained it. It also explains a lot about the social behavior of Thais with tourists. The tourists in Thailand are always so happy because they are full of smiles and small talk. That is because they don't want to share karma with them. It's all smiles without, it's keeping distance. Thais are extremely reluctant to get into a meaningful act with a stranger. Example, I saw in Bangkok, I wanted to go to a speedboat, and a big lorry was being unloaded with used oil, and they tipped it all in the river. One big container after the other. And I spoke up. I could speak Thai quite well, and I said, "You are destroying the environment." And I said, "Stop this," and so on. And there were maybe 50 people waiting for the boat. They all turned away. Nobody opened their mouth. Nobody joined me in the protest. Quite sensibly so, because people who do that are very powerful, and powerful people can punish in Thailand. It was typical European individual, I'm going to interfere. Nobody joined me, and they just ignored me and went on with the bad behavior. I was there in Thailand when the Vietnam War was raging, and the Thais sent a contingent of soldiers to fight. And one of the soldiers came back in my village, and I asked him, did you get into action? Oh, yes, we had to shoot a lot. And I said, did you kill anyone? He said, when I shoot, I have my eyes closed. Because if I see that I kill somebody, in the next life, he will do something to me. So the shooting of the Thai soldier was with his eyes closed. In order not to create a karma that will eventuate in future lives. But the opposite is also happening. So my grandmother went into a retreat in her monastery, 24 hours, very beautiful behavior. I once joined her too. But the first retreat that she came back from, full of karma, she kneeled in front of me and said, Baas, I hereby give you the karma that I have just obtained in the monastery. And I, of course, got on my knees and lowered my head. And that way, she made sure, she was a very old person, that in the next life, we would have a good relationship again. So that is how karma was shared in one instance, because I had been living there for 6 months in her house. We had a very, very loving, good relationship. Now, so the discussion about whether karma can be transferred is in Buddhist Theravada literature. It's something that one person says yes, and the other says no, you can't really. In actual fact, the Thais believe that you can do so. In fact, it is the main thing that Buddhist monks do in the afternoon when they meditate. They send their daily good karma that they have gained back to the community. The abbot who leads the meditation session in the afternoon always never forgets to say, now we pass on our good karma to the community. And the farmers around the monastery where I lived had the advantage that Vasa, the retreat time when most good karma is being generated by monks, also coincides with the rainy season. And they think the rain comes because the monks are generating so much good karma. It's one way that it can be transferred. But also in the Buddhist commentaries, we find, for example, King Bimbisara in the Dhammapada Atthakatha. King Bimbisara made an offering to the Buddha, but at night, hungry ghosts were wailing. He asked the Buddha, who answered him 92 eons ago, at the time of Buddha Kusa. They were your relatives who did eat from the alms that had been the almsgivings that had been offered to the monks, and therefore they were reborn as hungry ghosts. They wailed because you didn't offer the merit to them. So Bimbisara made a new offering and transferred the merit to these relatives. Then they showed themselves, but they were all naked. The Buddha said, offer them clothes. He did, and the ghosts left behind their hungry ghost status and attained divinity. That was a quick move upwards. In fact, in the Buddhist stories, there are two animals who attained from animal stage directly went to heaven. One is Kamtaka, the horse on which Siddhartha left his palace and who died directly when the Buddha cut off his hair. That horse went directly into divinity. And the other was, I think, a frog who listened to the Buddha preaching. And he was, I think, trodden upon and went straight away to heaven. That's two rebirths. Of course, they didn't stay forever there. Once their good karma had expired, they were reborn again. Now, I want to show the slide on the sprinkling cord. Maybe you can have a look at that. So, a Thai word, Sai Sim. Literally, Sai is a thread, Siñcana thread. The white cotton thread that is believed to convey beneficial karma. So Sinchati is a Pali word, to pour. That goes back to the fact that when you do a good deed, you make it you legalize it by pouring water over your hand. That act is in India, but it's also always done in Thailand. And in fact, when the Buddha was being attacked, when he was getting his breakthrough, he asked Mother Earth to witness, and Mother Earth gave all the water that he had poured for good deeds, and that drowned his enemies. Now, the next slide will show you something from my own fieldwork. This is a private house. You can see trees because the house is not closed. The breeze goes right through. It's a nice tropical house. And here you see 4 monks, but there are actually 9 of them. It should always be an uneven number. And they are sitting there behind in front of a cloth that the farmers have hung there. And you see the abbot with his fan, which he puts in front of his face when he gives the 5 precepts to the lay people. In front you see some lay people, all beautifully dressed in white, and the leader has a pakoma over his left shoulder. That's also a very honorable sign. But what I want to say is that outside the house, there is a ghost house, a little shrine. And that shrine has a white cord. And the white cord they have done completely around the house. And it enters the house at the point not far from the abbot, where there is a Buddha image. I can hardly see it. And the Buddha image is attached to the cord, and then the cord goes to a begging bowl. You can see the begging bowl on the right-hand side from the abbot to see on the bottom there. And it goes around the bowl, and then it goes into the hands of the abbot, and from the abbot it goes into the hands of each of the monks, right to the final monk, and the final monk has still a bowl of white cord that he puts on somewhere high so that it doesn't go on the earth. That cord is being used because these monks are all beginning to chant their chants, and they have to do it from memory. And you know these 9 monks who are with their deep sonorous voices, Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa, and the whole house begins to vibrate. And that 9 people who are out of their memory saying the holy words causes a stream of good karma to go to the abbot, around the water, be reinforced in the Buddha image, around the house, and back to the little shrine for the ground, at the ground. And it is a sacralization, because inside the water that is inside the begging bowl, there is a candle there. In the candle is a light, and at a particular moment of chanting, the abbot lifts the candle, and it's when we are chanting, bad things will be extinguished. He extinguished the candle in the water. And that water is now charged with beneficial things. It will be given to the leader of the lay people, and he can drink a bit. It will be sprinkled around, and everybody will be happy doing that. Now, that was the sprinkling cord as it was in the 1960s. In present day Thailand, they have the sprinkling cord all over the place. And when there are ceremonies made, so here's the ceremony there is a network of sprinkling cords into the main building of a monastery. And that during ceremonies, they will link up with people who are attending a ceremony, so that the sprinkling cord is now something that is an essential part of the of a major ceremony, where everybody who attends will be connected up with the source of power, and they will feel that they will get beneficial things. There you see them. The sprinkling cord goes around the head, and they're all receiving good karma. The number of cords has multiplied in the last 50 years. It is I had never imagined. When I traveled all over Thailand in the 1970s, never seen a scene like this. And this is modern Thailand. The sprinkling cord has become an essential part that cannot be thought away again. So karma has an enormous effect upon people's lives, and I think the main thing that you will be seeing probably when you go to Thailand is that meaningful action is a very important aspect of it, and that's why a stranger will not be treated with real respect, will not meet with real friendship unless the Theravada Buddhist thinks that you're worth it, and they don't go into meaningful real friendships unless they feel that they want to be reborn with that person in some future stage. Modern life in Thailand is, of course, not so not as it was in the 60s. People don't have much time that they used to have, and I think that also the belief in rebirth is being challenged by many modern Thais, but I haven't done any research on that. My impression from ceremonies is that devotion has changed dramatically. So the Dhammakaya movement, that will be a future lecture. I think I've done my 30 minutes.
Thank you so much, Baas. I'm going to hand over to Angela Chu to chair the questions. Before I do that, I'm